Hi everyone.
Hi.
Um, Again, you know me. Jen is not here.
She's not?
No,
Why?
because
Oh, okay.
uh, uh,
Because not Jen is here.
because not Jen is here.
Okay.
Bearded not Jen is
Bearded
here.
not Jen is back.
Yes,
Yeah.
for another video. This time we're talking about games.
What?
I know, I'm shocked.
We're talking about games on your YouTube channel video about games.
Yes, which will show up on our website
I think
about games.
Jen is not here because you're crazy.
Possibly.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not just talking about games, though. We're talking about older, games that, while they might be great on their own, we've found something better. Or we've found something that scratches the itch and delivers maybe better gameplay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's like here's a game that you're probably familiar with, and then here's a game that's way better than that.
Sure, I'm going to bring us closer.
Ooh.
Oh.
Basically, that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah.
You might like some of these games, and that's great. A lot of them have long histories.
If you like the wrong game, I'm gonna do this
and judge you.
Yeah. I'll be extra judgy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've even liked some of these games when I was growing up.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I only say that jokingly.
Of course. But now, yeah, I've having gotten out there and had a chance to play more games. You get to, I don't know, you get just to know.
You get to experience more, like modern board games. And when we say modern, like, I know some of my better versions of game on here are actually kind of old.
Yeah.
So, modern games, they have a lot going for them. There's a lot of focus on really good mechanics, on a fun play experience, on just different aspects.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily to say that some of these old games are bad. It's just like, actually, like, here's something that, has improved on that in some way.
So one thing we'll do, we'll talk about a game, one of the older games. We'll talk, maybe we'll see what aspect of it that we do like, and what aspects we don't like about them. And then we'll introduce the game that replaces it for us, and why it replaces it.
Yeah.
So do you want to start with one of the games that gets replaced for you?
Sure. Although, I think one thing, just before we get into the list, that I think you and I kind of, just as we were briefly chatting, I don't know all of your picks, and you don't know all of mine. I think we only know one or two of one another's.
For most of the part, it's a secret, so it'll be interesting.
But I think you've kind of gone with here is the best example of this.
Yeah, at least as far as I've played.
Right, yes. Right. Whereas at least when I was doing my list, I tried to go with if you're only familiar with some of these more popular games that play relatively easily, I didn't want to go with, well, here's something that's better, but like way more complicated. Right. So I tried to go with here is a nice, really good next step that's like a really easy game to continue that will kind of scratch that itch.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let's get going then.
So the first one is a game that, has been around for almost a century now.
Yeah.
And that's Monopoly.
Yeah.
You know Monopoly. We don't need to explain how Monopoly works to you.
No.
You roll dice, and then you land on properties, and then you buy them.
Now, what most people don't realize is if the property isn't bought, the rule is that it goes up for auction.
Right.
And which is supposed to quicken the game.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced.
Monopoly...
It's
not my favorite game. It's safe to say.
It has a history. And I think for at least me, you... and maybe some other games, it is history.
Yeah. And I mean, um, the game takes far too long.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of really good decision making, really. You roll dice, which determine where you go randomly. You then land on something.
And buy or not buy.
And buy or not buy. Now, like some good aspects, there's maybe like a little bit of strategy in there on like the bidding phase if something goes up for auction.
The negotiation part can be entertaining.
I mean, I've heard people who will defend Monopoly. One of the things they'll defend is you have this brief phase in roughly the middle of the game that usually means you have about 3 hours of actual play left, but the middle of the actual playing the game portion where everybody's sitting on a bunch of properties and you now need to make deals to like figure this out. And that part right there in the middle where you're like making all these deals,
you're right,
can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, I have great memories of playing Monopoly.
Definitely.
You know, and who doesn't love sitting around a table with a bunch of friends and family and hating everybody by the end of the game because they're all terrible, horrible people who betrayed you. Betrayed.
Yeah.
They betrayed.
Yeah.
Like, so anyway, Monopoly, like, I got great memories playing the game, but still, there are definitely better games out there.
Yes.
And so I went with Acquire as my Monopoly replacement.
That's a fantastic game. I
like
that one.
It's a great game. It's also an old game. So I think it originally was published in
40s or 50s, maybe?
I want to say the 60s, but I could definitely be wrong about that.
Sure.
And it is a game where you have these hotel chains on the board. And you have a grid, and then you're placing these tiles. So you have like a slot of tiles that you can place on the board.
Yeah.
You know, at like spot C4 and at spot D13, whatever.
Yeah.
And when you, at any time you have two little spots that are next to one another and aren't connected to anything else, you can create a hotel chain. Yeah. And when you create a hotel chain, you get stocks.
And then they are 2 squares large at
it's a 2 square large hotel. Great. And you get a stock in it for creating it, and then you can buy more stocks. So on your turn, you place 1 tile on the board.
Yep.
You can buy, I think it's a limit of 2 stocks.
Something like that.
And then you take another tile and put it back in your little tray. You have a couple different options of tiles. So if you've played like Scrabble, where you've got like the little dock of letters in front of you, same thing. You have a dock of tiles, and you choose which one you're going to place. And the cool part is that then like you're building this hotel chain, and I can add to your hotel chain, and I can then buy stocks in your hotel chain.
Right.
And now you're trying to fight me for who gets control of the hotel, whatever. And you have these different hotel chains spreading across the board.
And getting larger.
And getting larger. And then, if you connect 2 of them, the larger one takes over the smaller one.
Yeah.
And then there's like money payouts, and you can convert your shares from the one into the other, or you can keep them and bring it and like hope that hotel chain will come back miraculously later.
Yeah. And the larger the hotel chain, the more your shares are worth. So
exactly.
A takeover can sometimes almost double the cost of your shares.
Exactly. And sometimes you want to be taking over the other chain. Sometimes you want to be the one who's taken over. But like, it's simple. Like, you buy shares, you play tiles, you buy shares, you get payouts.
Yeah.
And at the end of the game, whoever has the most money wins. Basically, when the game ends, you sell all your shares for what they're currently worth, and then, like, you count up your cash. And, like, if you want to play an easy-to-play, money economic-y type game, Acquire's the way to do it. So it's like that. I think maybe part of it is because in Monopoly you build hotels. So you've got that like money changing hands and whatever. It doesn't have the negotiation aspect that Monopoly does. But, I mean, it's a fantastic game. It's lots of fun, and it's really easy to play. And it's not complicated.
One of the things I like that it fixes, I'll say, is the elimination part, too.
Right.
In Monopoly, you can go bankrupt, and you're essentially out of the game, and everyone else is playing 3 hours without you.
And you're just like, okay, well, I guess I'll just sit over here and read a book.
Yeah, exactly. And
something.
Acquire, it's not a long game as it is,
Yeah.
but there's also not that player elimination part
Yeah,
too.
I think Acquire is like it takes like 45 to 60 minutes to play.
Yeah.
You're gonna play quick, and everybody's in it the whole way through.
And you're still going to feel like a mogul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
My choice, which is, I'll say a little meatier,
Okay.
it was Power Grid.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, this is one that you have, so for the most part, I'll try and explain it the best I can. It's been a while. But you are, again, moguls, but instead of a real estate empire, you are an energy empire. So you have different power plants. You are trying to provide energy to different cities, and various power plants take various amounts of fuel, which you will have to purchase as well.
You spread. You start in one city. You're spreading to other cities. You're competing with the other players to get into the other cities to buy the power plants.
Yeah.
There's different types of fuel.
Yeah.
And if everybody's going for coal becomes a really expensive
commodity
resource to fuel your plants. So there's this. You're trying to respond to all the other players by, getting the right power plants that you want first, and trying to figure out how you're going to deal with the whole fuel situation.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's got a really good mechanic where basically when you're not doing as well, you effectively get like first pick on some stuff.
So it helps to balance the game out a little bit, and so you don't just have someone running away with the lead.
Yeah, I mean it's a more complex game than Acquire.
Yeah. It's also a longer game.
Yeah.
What they generally run an hour and 2 hours.
I'd say like a game of Power Grid is maybe 2 hours.
2 hours.
It's a fantastic game.
Yeah. What I like is it still gives you that economic itch.
Yeah.
To scratch.
Yeah, for sure.
It still scratches that itch, and it also, unlike, well, I guess Acquire has a little bit of this too, but Power Grid has a little bit more of that take that mechanism, so you feel like if you're taking all the fuel that this other person wants and stuff like that.
Right. But I mean, even then, even if you're if I'm taking all the coal so that you can't get it,
there's always another option.
Like. Also, that's going to cost me a lot of money.
That's true.
So, I'm not going to do that if I don't have coal plants.
That's true.
What I might want to do is if I do have coal plants, and I know I need to power them next turn as well, then maybe I'll buy 2 rounds worth of coal to,
You can also start providing power into a city that's near me, so it costs me more to get in there next time.
So there's a lot. You're definitely fighting with the other players.
Yeah.
You're more directly.
But you're not going to hate people.
No. Which, I mean, sometimes that's like the fun part about games is like leaving the game and being like.
Yeah. That's Brad most of the time.
Yeah. No, he just thinks I'm always the traitor.
Right. But yeah, that's my choice. It gives you that nice economic flavor. But it's got the shorter playtime, still no elimination, and you're not going to.
I mean, if you're jumping into board games and like you've played Monopoly and 1 or 2 of the other games on this list,
go to Acquire next.
Go to Acquire first. It's a great game. It's easy to play, and then get in a game of Power Grid.
Work your way up to Power Grid.
Power Grid is a fantastic game, but I wouldn't go there straight from Monopoly.
Another game that has been around for quite a long time. I think Devin, one of our friends, has a retro version of this as well. It's the game of life. It's again another game where you're rolling dice and moving along your life track, and you have different occupations. You're getting money. You're having kids. You're getting married. Not in that order, because that'd be weird. Essentially, I like that it's a nice light game. You don't have to think at all.
Yeah, which is kind of the problem with it.
Yes.
I remember playing that as a kid, and I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
But I mean, it shares a lot of things that a lot of kids games have, where you roll dice and then you move and then you see what happens.
What I like to say about the game is that you're not so much playing the game as it's playing you.
Yeah, like there's no real decision making in there.
Right. You roll, you land on a square, and do what it says. That's
basically it.
If you had an automatic dice rolling mechanism, it would play by itself.
Yeah.
It's nice to imagine the occupations and stuff like that. And for me, the game that brings that out a lot better is the game Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
Now, we've had a chance to play this before, but Pursuit of Happiness is...
it's a similar game. You're going through the stages of life. You start in like high school?
You start as a teen, I think. Yeah.
And you can... And this one you have... It's a worker placement.
Yeah, so you're putting your different... like an egg timer type pawn on the different things that you want to do with your time. So I think you start with a couple different things that you can do.
A little egg timer. So when you're in high school, you can put one of your egg timers on part-time job.
Yeah,
and then you have money to spend.
Exactly.
But you have a limited number of these egg timers because, like in real life, you can't do absolutely everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're trying to figure out, okay, well, I want to go to school. I want my guy to go to school or my girl to go to school. Yeah. Oh, but I need some money. Okay, so then now they're going to have a part-time job and like, I don't have enough egg timers
to do this other thing
for like competitive volleyball or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, all that is decision making, and you run them through their entire life.
Now, as you progress in your life, you might get more of these egg timers. But as you progress as well, for instance, if you want a better job that makes you more money, it requires more egg timers to do that thing. So it's a balance, just like it feels like life. You want to do all these things, but you don't have time to do them, or you don't have money.
It's The Sims.
The computer game The Sims.
The Sims,
in
but
a board
as
game.
A board game.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun. It's great to play. It's got a lot of flavor. You can play as a guy or a girl character. Yep. You can choose to like pursue relationships or your career or hobby. And like at the end of the game, you have this great story for this person that you played as. Mm-hmm. Of how their life went, and it's fun.
Yeah.
But the whole time you were making actual decisions about what you wanted to do versus just randomly finding out what happens.
Exactly. There's one card that I think we're usually fighting over as well.
The board game collection.
The board game collection. There's a board game collection card that you can buy, and I think you got it last
it's
time.
one of the hobby cards.
Yeah.
And then you have to, if you sink time and money into it, you can get a really impressive board game collection.
And it gives you victory points or something
I think
like
it gives you like happiness points at the end of the game or whatever it is that they're called.
Yeah.
So there you go. Board games will make you happy.
Yes.
According to the game Pursuit of Happiness, the board game. And they're totally unbiased, I think, when they declare that.
Yes. So that was my replacement for the Game of Life. That was yours?
That was mine as well.
That was yours as well.
That was a game I immediately thought of.
Yeah. I don't know of any that really do it better. At least none that I've played.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not exactly a huge niche of games.
No.
But it's a lot of fun. And again, it's not complicated.
Exactly.
So, it's an easy game to pick up.
Well, what do you got next?
Let's do Risk, which is another board game that like I played a ton of.
So many memories
as a kid. Yeah, lots of great memories of that one.
For its time, it was a solid game. It did what it did well.
Yeah, I own
at
least two versions of Risk because I have a Lord of the Rings version.
In my lifetime, I've owned at least 4.
Yeah. I mean, it's a classic.
Yeah.
I'm going to send my armies after you and destroy you.
Dudes on a map.
Dudes on a map.
Yeah.
And then you. And what I don't like about it is I don't like the dice roll to see how well I do in combat. And this for me in games, I'm okay with randomness before I decide what I want to do.
Right.
So, for instance, most card games, you're randomly dealt a hand of cards, and then you figure out what you're going to do with that.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Or rolling a dice to see what kind of actions are available to you.
And then I choose based on that. Yeah. So I'm okay with, I get randomness now, and then I figure out what I'm going to do with that.
Right.
What I dislike about Risk is that I decide that I'm going to attack you, and I send in 20 men against your 5. And then we roll dice, and if you get extremely lucky, for some reason my 20 guys all die to your 5.
Yeah.
So I don't like randomness in outcome as much. Now, I'd rather it at the start.
Right. So one of my biggest things with Risk is the same problem I have with Monopoly. Is you get knocked out.
I get halfway. Knocked out. You get knocked out. I killed you at the beginning. Come on, man. Let's be clear here.
Either way, you get...
Actually, we were fighting one another the whole time.
Usually.
And then, we died, and now you and I have to sit there while everyone else finishes the game.
That's exactly it. You can get knocked out halfway through the game, and you're twiddling your thumbs for the rest of it while the game goes on again for 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
It is another long game.
It's not as bad as Monopoly can be, but yeah, it can sometimes take a while to finish a game.
Yeah, exactly. As far as the dice rolling for me is not a big thing. I would prefer a little bit more choice or a little less luck or something like that in my combat games. But the big thing is the player elimination. It's never been a mechanic that I've enjoyed in a board game. But what replaces Risk?
For me, Small World.
Right.
So that's a game you own.
Yep.
I've played it a bunch of times. It is a ton of fun. So
fantastic.
You have a map, and there's different regions. There's the woodlands and the mountains and the mines and the grasslands and the ocean, whatever. And then every player starts with, you get a different type of race. So halflings or orcs.
Yeah, it's all fantasy based.
Yeah, it's fantasy. Undead, whatever. So you get that, and then you get
a qualifier.
Basically. A qualifier. So
you could have flying undead or something.
Right, you could have flying undead. So flying is the trait, and all this is done randomly at the setup of the game.
Yeah.
So no two games are going to be exactly the same in that respect. And you start, and you get your dudes on the map. And then the idea is you're spreading out to control the map, just like in Risk. And the more you control, the more resources you get, which is great.
At the end of your turn.
At the end of your turn.
Yes.
And then when I want to, attack you,
yes,
you have one guy, and I have 3.
I think you can even do it with...
I think I need a minimum of 3.
3.
Because what happens is
if you have less than 3, you can roll a dice.
Right. But the idea is if I have 3, and he has 1, I remove his guy, I remove one of my guys, and now I have 2 left. And I can move one of them onto the space that Matt just occupied. So I've eliminated him. And there is a dice rolling mechanic, so I can see if I've got extra strength.
If you really don't have any other guys and you really want that territory.
Right. So you have a little bit of that push your luck, but it's a little bit more restrained.
I think it's only a 0 to 2
I think it goes as high as 3, but I could be wrong.
Either way,
it might only go to 2.
It's not a full 1 to 6 dice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's got that, and then the other aspect of it is that that game does really well, is you are going to change what you're playing during the game. So eventually my flying undeads are going to slowly die off.
You're going to push them as far as you can.
I'm going to push them as far as I can, and then I'm going to say, okay, I'm done with these guys, and then I get another army.
Yeah, they go into decline. So
Yeah.
it's like a civilization type aspect in that the civilization kind of fades, but this new great civilization comes in. And yeah, the strategy part of that is knowing the best time to do that.
Right.
The time that's going to give you the greatest resources, but also not weaken you when you set up your new civilization.
Exactly. So now my flying undeads are gone, and I get rich halflings
or something like that.
Yeah.
Another aspect that I like about the game is the races and these qualifiers add different abilities and different flavor to your race. So with every combination that you're going to get every time you play this, you have a completely new game, and you might have a completely new strategy. So
exactly.
It gives a lot of replayability.
So, and even when you switch them, so at the beginning of the game, maybe I got the guys who are good at mining.
Yeah.
And so I really want all those mountain territories for the mines in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And then I end up with, like, mermaids when you
switch.
When I switch. And so
now
I care about the oceans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also my pick for Risk. I think it is the best dudes on a map thing that you can get. It's quick. You can play, like, if everyone knows what they're doing, you could probably play in 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I know you can also get an app on your phone, and I've knocked out a game on my phone in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's
and again, it doesn't have the player elimination, so you're in the game till the end.
Yeah. Oh, Matt's like really beating on me. My armies are getting weak. Okay, retire them, and now you get a new one.
Exactly.
And when you get a new one, you got all sorts of new strength. So yeah, it's a fantastic replacement. And again, it's not that complicated. There's lots of like little bits, but it's just like you look at the card and you do what it says, and you're good to go.
Now, there's another, I guess, a war type game that's been around for a lot longer, and I don't know if you have anything for this, but I was thinking like chess and checkers and games like that. They've been around for a long time. Not that I don't think there's anything really negative about chess itself, other than the fact that it's not a beginner's game.
I disagree.
Well, I'm a beginner. I've never won a game in my life. There is an aspect of strategy that you sort of have to know.
Well, sure, but I mean, well, okay. I'm sure you have a replacement.
Yes.
For this, I actually don't.
No.
Like, there's a reason that people have been playing chess for a long time. And that's because it's a really good game. I think I probably learned to play when I was 6. And I'm not even remotely a chess expert.
Sure.
But like, you can teach a young child how the pieces move,
mm-hmm.
and and then they can play. Like, I've played the game with children.
Sure.
There's a lot of deep strategy, and like if I were to play a chess master or even like a computer game chess on probably medium difficulty,
right,
I would lose. But like,
right,
part of that actually is great because it means there's more depth, there's more for me to learn, there's more to keep going. But like, the core rule set is really simple.
So you might not have a replacement, but I was thinking of one that you've recently got that might be on the same playing field as chess, and that was another ancient game that you've got.
Right.
Now that it's I haven't played it with you yet, but it's
Nefertafel is how we'll say that it is pronounced.
It's either that or Neftafel.
Okay.
It's somewhere else.
It's Viking chess is kind of what it's called colloquially.
Yeah.
And that one's a fun one where you have one army that's in the center of the board.
Yeah.
And it has 12 units and a king. And the other player has 24 units, around the outside of the
Wow.
board with no kings. They're all like there's like all pawns, and then there's one king
So-
that
So
one
like
of the players get.
an attack and defend type
It's
game.
an attack and defend. So it's the sides aren't even. They don't play the same. The defender,
Mhm.
who starts in the middle of the board, they win the game by having their king escape to one of the corners. I mean, it's a really fun game. I don't view it as a chess replacement, though. I just
Right,
view it
yeah.
as another game in that style.
Exactly. Sort of in that.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
that
I think,
field,
and I've only played a very small number of games of this, but like the other example of these kind of like ancient, really deep strategy games would be Go.
That is like strategy to another level.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But again, like these games, like chess or like Go,
Yeah.
I mean, the reason that we have been playing them for so long
Yeah.
is that they're so good.
Sure. Yeah,
and
definitely.
so, what replaces chess? Like another game of chess. Just play another round of chess, because beating that is fun.
Now I'm not a chess player. I've never won a game of chess. If you're like me and you want something that has that not level of strategy, because chess obviously has another level, but it has that feeling to me of just trying to move your pawns into a perfect position, is a small little game called Hey, That's My Fish. Now, I don't have it close, or I would show you. I do have it. Here we go.
You'll get it.
So it looks cute. It's all about penguins gathering fish.
Aww.
Yeah. But when you're actually playing this, it is a mean game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surprisingly mean
You
game.
literally cut someone off and leave them on an ice floe to die.
So basically what you're doing is, you can kind of see it here. You have a board full of these little, is that hexagonal?
Yeah,
Hexagonal
tiles.
Tiles with fish on them, and you're moving your penguins around the board to take the fish. But every hexagon that you leave, you're taking away from the board itself. So the board is shrinking, and you might, exactly what you said.
You might get cut off.
You might cut someone off completely and leave them floating in the ocean on their own little ice floe, and now they're stuck and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But it has, yes, it has a little bit of a theme, but it is almost as abstract as something like chess or Go or any of these other things. Really, you could put anything on that. They don't have to be penguins.
Yeah.
They could be Tron bikes or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's easy enough that almost anyone can play it. I don't know what the age range is on this.
You move in a straight line and remove the tile that you were that you started on.
It says 8 and up, so it's a nice
it's a simple game to play, but there is a fair bit of depth there.
Exactly.
It's a fun game. Now, it does have some player elimination, because if all my penguins get trapped really early, then like all my penguins are stuck on that little ice floe and I'm gone. But the game, you can play a round of that in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I'm eliminated, I can have like a sip of my tea and then the game's over.
Exactly. Like, I don't like player elimination, but in a game that's so short, it really doesn't matter.
I'll just taunt you from the sidelines.
Once.
And then the game's over.
What's another game that gets replaced?
So this one I went for a dexterity game.
Okay.
Which is Jenga.
Jenga.
So
it's another. If you don't know what Jenga is, you take a
tile out,
put it on top.
Put it on top, and the tower gets more and more unstable as you go.
Don't knock it over or you lose.
Exactly.
That's it.
And I mean, it's it's a fun game.
It does what it does.
It does what it does. The game that I think does a similar thing so much better is Rhino Hero.
Yes.
Which I know you've talked about on here before.
Yeah.
And that one is you've got these like cards, and then you have like other cards that bend, and they make the walls. So what happens is on my turn, I like have to place the walls, and then I put like a floor or roof tile down, and then that one tells you where you have to place
the walls for the next tile
for your tile. Exactly. And so there's a little bit of strategy there because I can try to place a tile that, you know, Matt now has to build on like an unbalanced side of the tower, so maybe it's more likely to fall over for him.
But then it adds the next level of strategy, because the cards, it almost brings in an Uno style of play, because you'll have cards like miss a turn, or change the direction of the play, or take another card. The entire goal of the game is to either not knock over have the least amount of cards when the tower falls over, or get rid of all your cards. I don't think I've ever played a game where anyone has got rid of all their cards. I think I did once.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it was like 2 people, so the tower wasn't actually that high.
Right.
The reason they call it Rhino Hero is because you have this little rhino wooden meeple, which, depending on what card is played, might have to go from somewhere else in the tower to the top of the tower. And this is going to make it sway, or might make it a little bit more unbalanced. But it takes that just a little bit more dexterity.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it plays quick, it's fun, it's super simple.
Yes.
So you could, you know, play it with, you know, children of all ages.
Oh, exactly. The nice thing is
it's fun.
The nice thing is the quick setup, because literally there is none.
Yeah.
You give people cards and you're ready to play.
Well, you give people the cards and you set like the little wall pieces to the side.
That's it.
And then you're good to go.
Yeah. The teardown isn't that quick either.
No, because it falls over.
Yeah. That was also my pick for Jenga. It is the best example of a Jenga replacement, I think. It still has that tower, still has the trying to keep it up, but it just adds that little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next one for me would be Yahtzee. No.
Yay! Yahtzee! No.
Well, you can. Yeah.
I can. All right.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I played that game.
It has been, yeah. Well, I've played very similar games now. But Yahtzee, if you're not familiar with Yahtzee, you have 5 dice, right?
Sure, why not?
Sure. You roll them and try and get sets of numbers. And
4 of a kind, a run.
And they'll give you different points. And what is it? You just roll the dice, choose some to put over to the side, and you want to keep those, and you just keep rolling until you've put all the dice aside or something, or you have a certain amount of turns. It's been a long time. But yeah, you're just trying to make sets so you get points. There's not much to say. It's a very simple game. It's very chancy.
But I mean, it's fun. It's quick to play. I mean, there's the chanciness, but I mean, there's also a sort of a push your luck level of fun to it. It's like, well, you know, I really want, like, I'm gonna get a lot of points if I go for this, but I know that like re-rolling 4 dice is risky. But like, what the heck?
Yeah,
let me give it a try.
Yeah. Now, it's a really simple game. The thing that replaces that one for me, and I don't know what your pick is, but my pick is a game called King of Tokyo. Now, King of Tokyo has dice, and it has that very Yahtzee mechanic. So you're rolling dice, you're trying to get sets of whatever you're trying to get. But it adds kaiju.
Yeah.
So
nice big monsters.
Big monsters destroying a city.
Yeah.
So what it is you have a city of Tokyo on the table on the board.
The big monsters attack Tokyo?
Apparently they don't like Tokyo.
That has never happened.
Never.
Big monsters never attack Tokyo.
No.
Yeah, definitely not. This game is silly.
But what you're doing if you're playing in a group of a couple people, you're rolling dice. The dice might make you attack another monster. They might give you some energy so you can buy cards that give you abilities. They might just give you points.
Yeah.
If you attack, you go into Tokyo. If you are in Tokyo and you attack, you're attacking everyone outside Tokyo.
Yeah. But everyone outside of Tokyo
is also
can attack
attacking
you.
All the monsters outside Tokyo are attacking Tokyo. So if you're in Tokyo, you're getting attacked.
Yeah.
And it has that push your luck dice rolling mechanic. So you're rolling, say, you're 5 away from death.
Yeah.
I want to get all those attacks. So I'm rolling dice. I got 2 attacks. I'll put those aside. I'll roll again. I got 1 more attack. I roll again. I didn't get any. You're still alive.
And now I'm going to try to get like 7 attacks to kill you.
Yes. So if you like big monsters, it's nice. I love the artwork too because you have like ridiculous things like a bionic kitty and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's like a cat in a gigantic robo suit. Like, who doesn't want to attack Tokyo with a giant cat in a robot suit?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I do.
There's a giant penguin in some sort of suit as well.
Yeah. It's not all animals in robot suits.
No. There is like a Godzilla type creature.
Wait, it's a giant lizard, right?
It is a giant lizard.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
There's like a mechanical version as well.
Oh, okay.
You have a lot of different monsters to choose from. So it's really fun. It is incredibly simple, and it's another really quick game.
Yeah.
Did you have more or less the same, or did you have something different?
I had 2 different games. So one of them is a game called Cacho.
Okay.
That's a Bolivian dice game.
Nice.
That, for the most part, plays almost exactly like Yahtzee. You're trying to get sets. You roll dice in a cup. Mm-hmm. You can then keep some and re-roll others. You only get 2 re-rolls. There's a mechanic where you can flip some dice onto their opposing sides. If you've played Yahtzee, you can play Cacho.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I played it a lot when I was in Bolivia.
Makes sense.
If you have 5 dice, a cup, and something to like write with and on, you can play. Mm-hmm. And so it's a great little game. I played that a ton. As a gamer game, my pick was Pandemic: The Cure.
Oh, that's a good one too.
So Pandemic, if you're unfamiliar with it, it's a cooperative game, so you're all playing together. So instead of competing with one another, it's all of you together against the board. And there are these diseases spreading around the board, and you need to...
Yeah, it's awful.
It's awful, and you need to cure the diseases before, the world gets overrun with...
awfulness.
The plague, and they don't actually name any of the diseases. And so Pandemic: The Cure is a version of Pandemic that's played largely with dice. So it
simplifies it a little bit.
It simplifies it a little bit. And so, and each character has their own set of dice, and at the beginning of your turn, you roll your dice, and your dice determine the actions that you can do. Mm-hmm. And if I really want to move around the board a lot, then I can choose to, I rolled 2 movement, so I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to take those 4 other dice that weren't movement and re-roll them.
Right.
And if I want to, I can just keep re-rolling them until I get what I want. Except that there's a bad result.
Like a
on the
skull
dice.
Or something.
That causes more diseases to spread. And if I roll that, I can't re-roll that die. So once that's in, that's locked.
Right.
So I could choose to sit there and re-roll until I get all the movement, but I'm taking a risk. And so it's that aspect of, trying to carefully choose which dice I want to roll or re-roll to get what I want. And there's that kind of, again, push your luck aspect of what you're choosing to re-roll and that sort of thing that I enjoy. And also the fun part about it is, co-op games are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just all playing together against the game. Except then you lose.
Yeah, it hurts when you lose.
Yeah, like I lost to a piece of cardboard. This must be avenged, and we shall play again immediately.
Yes.
Right now.
Yeah, yeah. That one's. I like that one. It gives you the flavor of Pandemic, which is one of our favorites.
Yeah, yeah.
But while simplifying it and making it quicker too.
Yeah, it plays real quick.
Yeah. Now another game. I don't know if you have a replacement for this one or not, but I went with Scrabble. Now Scrabble is a fine game. It is a great game. If you know a lot of words, you can do amazingly well.
Yep.
If you don't know a lot of words, you can hold your ground most of the times.
Yeah.
As long as you can get lucky with the tiles and stuff. Yeah, it works.
Yeah,
works fine.
I'm great at spelling 3-letter words.
Yes.
Yeah, basically that.
Yeah, exactly. But playing Scrabble sometimes, it's Scrabble. Sometimes I guess it can get samey a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not. I've never really played it enough that's ever been an issue.
Right.
I mean, I think it's a great game. It's a good game that gets you thinking like, oh, what can I do with these tiles that I have in front of me? What words can I form?
Yeah.
Oh, how can I build off there to get that double letter point or double word point or Scrabble does a lot of things really well. It's a great game.
Yeah, I don't think I have really any negative things really to say about the game.
No, I think the only thing that ever annoys me, quote unquote, with Scrabble, is that when you play with someone who plays a lot, and one, they crush you. Yes. Always.
Yes.
And a large part of that is because they know what I like to call not real words that are in the Scrabble dictionary, which is S-E-S is the spelling for the letter S. Sure, why not?
Yes.
You are technically correct, but part of me is just that's not a real word.
Right. Or the words
and really, it probably only annoys me because I didn't know that to think about it to use it myself, and meanwhile I did some thing that didn't get me as many points. So really, I'm jealous, is what I'm saying, I'm not smart enough.
You put and.
Yeah, exactly. For the third time.
Yeah. There's a lot of great word games out there, and there's still a lot that I want to try.
Yeah.
But one that I had a chance to play and really enjoyed because it has one of my favorite mechanics was Dexicon. There's another version called Paperback. They're essentially the same game with minor differences, but I played Dexicon, and what that is a deck building word game. So what deck building is you have a hand of cards, and you have your own personal deck of cards, and you're using the cards you have to purchase or buy other cards available. So in your hand, what you start with, you might have 5 different letters. But what you do is you play the cards in front of you as a word. And they will get you points, and you can use other cards to purchase more letters, which will let you make larger words or different words, and will get you more and more points. Even some of these letter cards have different abilities too, so it's take another card from your deck or something like that. Sorry, but yeah, it adds that deck building mechanic, but it still has the word building.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I actually haven't played this game, so it sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, it was really interesting. If you like word games, and I know you like deck building too.
Yeah. So
we'll have to try it.
For sure, yeah. No, it sounds fun.
What did you have?
So I had 2 games as Scrabble, and I don't really want to use them as replacements because Scrabble's a great game as is and doesn't really need to be replaced.
Exactly.
But if you want to
branch
out, or just get another game that sort of scratches that same itch, so I actually had 2 games as possible options.
Yeah.
So the first one is building off of that like tile laying aspect
Okay.
of Scrabble, where like, oh, I want to place this on the board to get that area or whatever, is actually acquire.
Sure.
Because in a lot of like part of acquire, we were kind of talking about this, is quite similar. You have this like bank of your possible things that you're working with,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna like lay it somewhere strategic.
And that is going to get you points.
And that's going to get you points. It gets you money,
yeah.
right? So if the one of the things that like you're enjoying about Scrabble is that like actual strategic, like, oh, where am I going to build my word? The placement of like the pieces that you have in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Acquire is like a great little easy game that's gonna scratch that same sort of itch.
Sure.
If it's the word play, if like that wordiness of it.
Yeah.
For me, Codenames.
Right.
Is just it's a great game. So that one is a fantastic game, and there's now like a picture version as well.
Picture versions. There's Disney. There's Marvel, and there's Duets, which we have as well, which is a two-player
game.
Or cooperative,
right?
As you
but I mean, so the way that Codenames works is you have all these words laid out. I think there's like 25 different words.
25. It's a 5x5 grid.
And I have a team, and you have a team.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get our team members to guess like the special words for our team.
Yeah. So we have a thing that we look at, and it's color coded, and it shows us which words that we want our teammates to guess.
Right. And so the words, are done randomly at the beginning of each game. Yeah. The words that I want my team to guess are done randomly, and so now I'm looking at the words there on the board, and I'm trying to figure out. And on my turn, when I'm trying to get my team to guess, I can say one word, not one of the words there, but a word that would thematically linked that would make them think about it, whatever, and then a number. So I could say Castle 2. And now that is my hint, and that's all I can give to my teammates. And they know that in that field of 25 words,
there are 2
words
that link somehow to Castle.
And so then, my teammates might have to look, and they go, oh, well, there's a horse. Like, is he thinking horse? Because, like, knights ride horses and knights live in castles? Or, like, oh, moat. Well, moat's probably pretty safe.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, so they feel like... Anyway, it's that kind of... It's not the same as Scrabble, where you're trying to, like, build words off of the words that other ones have, and there's, like, the spelling aspect of it and the scoring aspect. But...
there is that word play, and it
I
really
feel like
makes you think.
I'm using that same part of my brain
exactly
that I'm using in a game of Scrabble, where I'm trying to like figure out what words I'm going to build with the tiles in front of me. Whereas now I'm like, okay, how can I like thematically link these words as easily as possible to get my team to guess them, while also avoiding, your words so that I don't inadvertently help you.
See, I think they consider that a party game, even though it works. I think it works better with like around 4 to 6 players. And if it is considered as a party game, it is a quiet party game.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
You say your letter or your word and your number, and people just sit there staring at the words for about 5 minutes.
And then like they go, okay, well, like, do you think he means horse or and it's a great one.
Speaking of party games, we do get into some of the party games.
Yeah.
I'll start with Pictionary. Pictionary is a game where you have a word on a card, or a phrase on a card, I guess, and you have to draw it in... Is there a time limit? I think there was a time limit or something like that. Or maybe there isn't. But you're trying to draw something, and you're trying to get people to guess what it is. Which is not good if you are not artistic.
I mean, I've played that. I mean, it's a really easy game to play. You can play it with like 20 people.
Yes, you have a big piece of paper and a group. Yeah,
you don't need to buy anything to play.
No.
Pictionary, like I'm sure I played it like in school on a blackboard.
Exactly.
it's not a
It's not a complicated game.
Exactly. You can just play it based on whatever rules you come up with at the moment.
Yeah. You might have more difficulty if you're not artistically inclined, but you're still able to play just fine.
Yeah.
What was your replacement? I'm pretty sure we probably have the same.
Yeah. So my replacement for Pictionary is a game called Telestrations.
We love that game. That's one of Jen's favorites as well.
It's so much fun, and it's so hilarious.
Yeah.
And basically, so with that one, do you get a card that tells you what you're supposed to draw?
So you have a card, and there's even a dice that tells you which one you're supposed to pick.
Right.
A timer and everything.
So I get this card, and it will say, it's usually like a phrase.
Phrase, sometimes a word, yeah.
So, like, let's say this card says 6 feet under. Okay, cool. So I'm going to write that down on, like, the first page of, like, this, like, booklet that you get that's all, like...
Dry erase.
It's a dry erase booklet. Okay. So I get 6 feet under, and now I have to draw it, and I have 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I'm going to draw with a dry erase marker 6 feet under. However it is that I'm trying to do that. And then...
And it does depend on how many players you have. You might actually, instead of drawing it yourself, you might pass it to the next person as well.
But basically, I'm going to try to draw that, and then I'm going to hand it to Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt doesn't get to look at the page that says 6 feet under.
I have to look at the drawing. Now, from the drawing... I have to give my best guess as to what it's trying to say, and then flip it over and write what I think that is.
And he can't write, Dave really sucks at drawing. Because that's probably not one of the cards.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. All right.
And then from my guess, I then pass it to the next person, and they then have to draw that thing. And it's going to go around just like that until it comes back to Dave. And we're going to see how far it has deteriorated from then.
So, effectively, the game is...
Broken Telephone and Pictionary mashed together.
You take both those games and you stick them together. And, I mean, the other nice thing is that, like, I have my phrase 6 feet under. At the same time as I'm drawing that, and I have a 1-minute limit, Matt has his own book with his own phrase. And so everybody's doing all this at the same time. And then afterwards, the best part of the game is when you all sit there and, like, okay, well, I started with 6 feet under, and
now it's a monkey.
Here's my terrible drawing, and Matt was like, a monkey eating a banana. And, you see how it all fell apart the whole way through.
Yeah. The best thing about the game is... I think it's better if you don't have any artistic skills at all. And that's one thing I like about certain party games is I don't care about any of the points.
Yeah.
Win or lose, it's a riot, and I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of party games in general. I think, like, most of the time I would rather either play, like, a proper game, or I'd rather just sit around, like, talking.
Right.
Like, party games, for the most part, for me, are in this really weird thing where, like, I'm not playing a real game, and I'm not just talking with the people around me. And so I'm not, like, I like them, and they're fun, but 98% of the time, I would either rather just talk with you, or play a proper game.
Right.
But that being said, like, Telestrations is just so much fun. And I mean, I don't know, this video's gone on for a bit. But literally, I wrote Telestrations down as my replacement for, we had Apples to Apples as another party game, and we had, I think that was the other, like, proper party game. And Telestrations was my replacement for that, too. Okay. Just because... if I'm going to play a party game, like, Telestrations is so much fun. It's just so funny.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, not that, like, don't get me wrong, I've had, like, great moments laughing, playing other different party games. But Telestrations just, like, it just gets it. Mm-hmm. It's just so hilarious.
Yeah. See, you mentioned Apples to Apples, and that is... you could almost consider that another word game.
Yeah.
Now that is basically there's someone chooses a word, and everyone chooses like an adjective that best describes that word, or vice versa, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to the point where that mechanic has been done to death.
Yeah, it's in a lot of other games. Well, okay, it's in the biggest other game that used that exact same mechanic would be Cards Against Humanity. And Apples to Apples it's basically what I find that I both like and dislike about Apples to Apples is that it devolves into like who can find the silliest answer.
Right.
And Cards Against Humanity goes, how can we find the most rude or inappropriate answer?
Yes,
and you can do that in Apples to Apples. In Cards Against Humanity, it's sort of forced.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gross.
It can be.
And there's a bunch of games that are like, oh, it's really funny if we all sit around being rude.
Right.
See. And Apples to Apples, I don't mind because, sure, why not? Like, I'll be silly.
Yeah.
But I prefer going back to Telestrations being my... Telestrations isn't as much forced silliness, and I prefer, I prefer my silliness to arise naturally.
Exactly.
Versus being forced upon me by the game.
My replacement for Apples to Apples, you can still get some silliness, but unlike some other party games, which I don't mind losing or winning, I guess I don't mind losing or winning. This can still add some hilarity, but you don't run into like the rude or the uncomfortable things that you can get from Cards Against Humanity, or if you're playing with that one person that plays that way with Apples to Apples.
Right.
And that's the game called Super Fight. What Super Fight is essentially everyone has a hand of white cards and black cards. On the white cards, you have different characters. On the black cards, you have attributes. And you are putting a character and an attribute and a random attribute together to form your fighter. Your fighter for a death match. And then the person next to you is going to put their fighter in as well. And you basically sit there arguing for about 5 minutes about who's going to win. Yeah,
well, so if my fighter is fighting Matt's, we have to convince the rest of the players at the table who's going to win. Exactly. So I'm trying to convince them that my 2-year-old armed with a lightsaber who thinks he's invisible can beat your...
unicorn who really has to pee but is 10 feet tall.
There you go.
And it goes on, and the group then, by vote, decides whose character has won.
It's clearly the 2-year-old with the lightsaber.
Oh, obviously.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, 2-year-old.
Okay. Yeah. That's true. And then the winner's character goes on and fights the next player's character.
Yeah.
And it goes around until it comes back to you, and if your character is still alive, they are retired, and that's an extra point for you.
There you go. And I mean, you keep adding a random attribute.
Random attributes. They could be bad. They could be good.
Yeah.
But it gets hilarious. There's a ton of expansions for that.
Yeah.
That adds like geeky things or like specifically things that are 90s related.
Yeah.
They can add locations. So your 2-year-old and my unicorn are now fighting at the bottom of the ocean. Or various things.
Can unicorns breathe underwater?
No, but 2-year-olds can't either.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is a bad location.
Which one can hold their breath the longest?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. They both lose.
There's expansions that add different challenges. So, okay, now we're not fighting anymore. It is a cake baking contest. But I love the randomness. I love the the weird arguments that you can get into.
Yeah.
And it is a nice, quick, easy, simple game to just break out and have a lot of fun with as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we can probably hit one more. Let's just see. Which one do you want to do?
I was thinking that one.
Sure, let's go with Clue.
Yeah.
Now, this is Jeremy's one of his favorite games.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet you didn't know that.
I did not.
Jeremy is my brother-in-law. This is one of his all-time favorites. Clue is, out of a lot of the games that we mentioned that got replaced, Clue is a decent enough game. Like, mechanically, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like, you do have some chance with rolling the dice, but you have a lot of choice.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that deduction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is nice. It's solving a mystery, which I really like. But if you want that sense of mystery, like I guess another level or something like that, there's a lot of great mystery games out there that I haven't played, but one of my favorites, and you can almost consider it a party game because it has a high player count, although it feels more like a normal game almost, is Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. And basically what that is you have the player the person that's driving the game is the
lead investigator, forensic
scientist, and they know what who the killer is. They know what the killer used, and they know this other secret clue. But no one else knows. But someone else in that crowd is the killer. I guess they would know.
They know how they killed the person.
They know that they killed the person.
Yeah.
But basically what people are doing is, I guess they're not really doing much. The forensic investigator has these tiles out with different aspects of the crime scene. And they might put a token on, like one of the weather tiles. It might be, it was a sunny day. And that might lead the players to one of the clues in front of them.
So what does the sunny day tell me?
The sunny day might tell you that there's a puddle on the floor. And maybe that was a puddle from like an ice block or something like that.
But what if it means they killed the person with a beach umbrella?
It could also mean that.
Okay, all right.
So you make these different connections based on what clues the forensic scientist has revealed. And basically what the detectives are doing is discussing amongst themselves or talking it through in their head or something like that, and they're just trying to figure out who the killer is, what happened, and how they killed them.
Right. And I mean, one of the aspects that I like about that game is that, of course, one of the investigators is actually the killer.
Yeah.
And so if I'm the killer, and I don't want anyone to know that I used the beach umbrella, I'm going to try to discreetly lead the conversation,
to something else.
Yeah. So like, oh yeah, that sunny day, it was definitely that, the puddle of water from the ice block or something. But of course, if I'm overly obvious about it, then everyone's going to figure that out.
Exactly.
So there's that, you're trying to sort of manipulate the detectives into using the wrong things from the clue that the forensic scientist is putting out. So yeah, it's a fun little game, and it's super not complicated.
Right.
If the only person who needs to know how anything works is the forensic accountant, and from there,
forensic accountant.
It's a forensic accountant.
That's a different game. A game that you don't want to do.
Yeah, no, that's not a game that I want to play. I'll stick with Deception, Murder in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Was that your pick as well?
No.
Oh, excellent.
I sort of have two picks.
You're cheating a lot.
I cheat a lot. Yeah, which is why I win all the time. I mean, that's not why I win all the time.
Right.
I win all the time because I play smart. So my first replacement is a game called Kill Dr. Lucky.
Oh, I still haven't played this one.
Oh, you really have to. Yeah. It's almost like the prequel to Clue. One of these days, what I want to do is play Kill Dr. Lucky and then immediately play Clue afterwards. So in Kill Dr. Lucky, Um, Dr. Lucky is like this rich old man.
If you've seen the movie Clue, he is Mr. Body.
Yeah. He's this rich old man who's super lucky, and everyone else is in his big mansion, and he's roaming around the mansion, and you're all trying to kill him so that you can inherit all of his money. You're like horrible nephews or something, and nieces or whatever.
Second cousins. Or
exactly.
Something.
So I'm really trying to corner Dr. Lucky in the billiards room so that I can, kill him. But of course, the other players don't want me to do that, so then they get to play cards that like, oh, he escaped that, wasn't he lucky?
Just got out of there.
And I mean, it's a silly game, but it plays easy. It's relatively simple. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of a.
It's like the reverse Clue.
Exactly. It's the prequel to Clue. You figure out how he died.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is kind of one of my replacements.
Yeah.
The other one, if you really want that sort of thinky deduction, is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective.
Oh yeah.
I
have to play that more.
That is it's fantastic. So the base game, it comes with 10 different cases.
Yep.
You have like a map of London. You sort of, the case starts, there's a lot of reading in it.
Yeah.
But
you're essentially playing out a story almost.
You're playing out a story where you are these like junior investigators who Sherlock sort of humors. And he kind of tells you the bit about the case, and he says like, oh, run along and see if you can solve this.
Yeah.
And then you can go like, oh, well, we better consult with the baker. And so you figure out where in the city the baker is, and then you go to the baker, and he tells you all sorts of information. And then you decide that, oh, we should really go talk to, detective, one of the detectives at Scotland Yard. So you go off to Scotland Yard, and then you get more information. And the whole time you're trying to figure out, who committed the crime, and how did they commit the crime, and
where they did it.
Where they did it. And you actually have like a newspaper. Like you're given like newspapers. It's like it's like a decent sized page, and it's double-sided, and from like that day, and there might be clues just in the newspaper, and you can pick it up, and you're looking around, and like, oh, there was like a gun show, and this person like did really well at the gun show. I wonder if that has something to do with the crime.
Exactly.
And as you do further cases, sometimes stuff that you learned in a previous one might impact this.
I didn't know that.
There are clues in previous newspapers
to
current cases, so it sort of builds as you go.
Wow.
And then when you think you've solved it, you go to Sherlock. And basically he tells you what it was, and then you sort of compare answers and you get points. It's a cooperative game. You're all playing together, so unlike Clue, this isn't a race to see who's going to get it.
It is a race, but against Sherlock.
Against Sherlock. So it's always like Sherlock, you find out, Sherlock only had to interview 3 people to figure out the solution to this case. Meanwhile, you interviewed like
10.
15.
Yeah. So yes, it does have that solving the mystery.
Exactly.
And it also, which makes you feel good, but it's also trying to do it in the least amount of time.
Right.
You're not going to beat
You're
Sherlock.
never going to be. I actually legitimately think it's impossible to beat Sherlock.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a lot of fun trying to, solve it's like Murder Mystery the game.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's not one of those like murder mystery night games, but like
that's
what you're trying to do. And so it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, it really gives you that deduction.
Exactly. So it sort of takes that aspect that you see in Clue and just like ramps it up.
No, it was just on the fly. I was thinking of a game that sort of gives you that feeling of Clue, where you are rolling and trying to move to the different rooms. And this is one that you have. I guess it's not really deduction based or anything like that. It's more based on the movement, and that's Nuns on the Run.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just thinking about it because they both have like a grid board, right?
Sort of. Yeah.
But in that game, you're all like junior nuns.
Yep.
And it is nighttime when we're all supposed to be in bed.
Yep.
And but we're out gallivanting.
Yeah, you're sneaking around. Each of the junior nuns has like this secret mission that they're trying to accomplish, and some of them are innocent. Like you want to bake a cake for the prioress's birthday.
Sure.
Like
get a love letter or something like that.
Yeah. Some of them are receiving romantic letters that they're trying to sneak in. Like that's a no because you're a nun.
Yeah.
And so you're sneaking around. And then one or two of the players are playing the senior nuns who are patrolling the nunnery to make sure that everyone's
is in bed
like they're supposed to be.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting one. That has that hidden movement aspect to it, because the only people that are actually moving a token around the board are the senior nuns.
Yeah, unless one of the junior nuns becomes visible. So if I'm playing the senior nun and I step into a hallway and your junior nun is in that hallway, you now have to take the pawn for your junior nun out of her bedroom and place it in the hallway because now I know where she is.
Now you see her.
And now I see her.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. It doesn't have that... Not the deduction aspect, but the movement. And you get sort of... I guess sort of a mystery because you're trying to catch... If you're the senior nuns, you're trying to catch the others.
Yeah. And it has a really fun sort of aspect to it where the senior nuns have fixed paths that they have to follow. And you can only deviate from that path if you see or hear one of the junior nuns. And so, like, there are times where I've been playing them and I'm like, I know that, like, they're right around that corner, but I can't do anything about it. And so, like, how do I find a way to, like, get around that corner? Yeah. Or stall or do something so that they have to, like, come around. So there is sort of a bit of, like, if you're playing as the senior nuns, like deducing that.
Yeah.
Or, when they get to their end of their route, then they can choose any route they want. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm convinced they're that way, how... So there's a little bit of deduction, but it's more... I'd view that more as, like, trying to figure out what the other players are doing. And,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a fun little game.
It's a hilarious game.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's super simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's not complicated, but it's fun to play.
Yeah. Yeah. As are all the games that we've listed on our list.
Yeah.
And we've been going fairly long with this video, so maybe we'll leave it for now. If you get a chance at all to play any of these games, we definitely recommend that you do it. If there's other games that you feel better replace some games, let us know what they are.
Yeah. I mean, like, clearly I was right.
Right.
So, like,
so don't
my games are the best.
Yes. But, yeah, if you have other games, tell us what they are, and I'm going to try and play them.
Yeah, there you go. And I promise I won't do the, I won't do this.
Yeah.
I'll try.
All right. Well, until next time, thank you for coming by, and check out our website and all that kind of stuff. All right. Thank you.
Great.